along the path that I've had to get to this point really shaped me there. And I mean, so many projects, so many small things and learnings and mentors to get to this point. And I'm not done. I'm still being mentored. But as I become a gray beard, as I like to say, the ability to mentor others has now really presented itself. And I take that seriously and speak from the heart. And hopefully that helps, those that I mentor as well.
Yeah, many people say that when somebody is a mentor, it learns more or the double than the apprentice, right?
True. My common phrase is, let me take the manager's hat off for a second and talk to you, right?
Okay.
As a friend, right? And so I think a lot of that has helped as well with mentoring. Soft skills have been the number one area I've focused my career on. I think I've made a lot of improvement there. Still more to come, by the way. I think there's always improvement there. Emotional intelligence is probably another area, both a strength at times, but can absolutely be used better. But those two areas have really helped me to really observe, what I think I'm good at, and because they're not my strengths necessarily. I mean, Watts in the Americas, we're in well over 50 trade shows a year, and it's because of how many different brands we have and things that we focus on. But really right up front, we're going to identify what's our cost per lead, what's the investment amount, what's the amount of social media impressions we can get, what's the amount of marketing traction we can get, and then trying to tack that onto what kind of qualified sales lead did this become, and what actually did that become to a sales order. Now, I'm not saying any of all that is all well evolved, but I think aspirationally we're trying to get to those kind of metrics.
Te voy a platicar un poquito de nuestra empresa Sega. En Sega nos dedicamos al diseño e instalación de stands para exposiciones. Es la mejor opción que puedes conseguir para diseñar e instalar tu stand en eventos que tengas en todo México, y no solo eso, también empezamos con algunos proyectos en Estados Unidos. Te invito a que ingreses a sega.com.mx, te repito la página, sega.com.mx, déjanos tus datos y te vamos a asesorar de la mejor manera para que participes de forma exitosa en tu exposición, en tu congreso, en tu convención, y rescates la mayor cantidad de valor de esa participación. Ingresa a sega.com.mx y déjanos tus datos.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a Mundo Expo, el podcast donde platicamos con todas aquellas personas que, como bien saben, están involucrados de una u otra manera en la industria de reuniones. Me refiero a convenciones, exposiciones, ferias, congresos, este tipo de eventos que tanto nos apasionan. El día de hoy estamos en un stand muy bonito que armamos por aquí en la AHR Expo México. Es el evento más grande en Latinoamérica de la industria HVAC, que me refiero a aires acondicionados, ventilación, calefacción, refrigeración, este tipo de temas que mueven al mundo literalmente. Estábamos hablando de números ayer con José Perales. Es una cantidad enorme de números de ingresos que se reciben por este tipo de proyectos, y estamos en el mejor evento en México y Latinoamérica de este giro. Y el día de hoy vamos a tener un episodio en inglés. Vamos a tener por aquí a Ryan Kiscaden de la empresa Watts Water, y ahorita vamos a platicar un poquito al respecto con él. Ryan, welcome to Mundo Expo. Nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to speak with you today.
Oh, thank you. I was making a little research about you yesterday that we met at your booth, and I saw that not only you have the responsibility of a sales manager here on Watts, but in your free time you're also an author.
Yes.
You have written some books. Talk us about that a little bit.
Sure, yeah. So my professional life, I'm a sales enablement manager. So I manage a team that works on marketing initiatives, including here in the Latin America region. Mm-hmm. So I'm really, that's my professional life. And yes, I have some hobbies where I've had great success and luck writing children's books and other things as well.
Oh, congratulations
Thank
about
you.
that. Congratulations. And then we will start about your professional life. How has the life going with you to be here right now and be here at your company? How has been your professional life?
No one ever takes a straight path to what career they'll be in, and mine was no different. I realized pretty early on that plumbing and HVAC was an industry that I really liked and one that I wanted to spend more time in. And so as I grew in my career, I always had bold ambitions for myself to say, you take the projects when they're asked for you to do. You may not be the best, most experienced at the time, but you use that to your advantage and you grow and learn with it. And so I've consistently done that, to my career to this point. But, I started my career helping contractors. I worked at a wholesale distributor in the United States, working at the counter, working in the warehouse, helping deliver product. All those things kind of led me to now where I'm, happily employed at the manufacturer level. And it gives me a perspective that maybe others don't have, which is as soon as you always focus on that end customer installer in mind, it sort of drives how you work every day because you know who you're doing that work for. You're not necessarily doing it for maybe the internal workings of the company. You're doing it for the customer. And, for me, I've really been blessed with that. And again, a lot along the path that I've had to get to this point really shaped me there. And I mean, so many projects, so many small things and learnings and mentors to get to this point. And I'm not done. I'm still being mentored. But as I become a gray beard, as I like to say, the ability to mentor others has now really presented itself. And I take that seriously and speak from the heart. And hopefully that helps, those that I mentor as well.
Yeah, many people say that when somebody is a mentor, learns more or the double than the apprentice, right?
True. So true. Yes, and particularly around the next few generations. For me, I think there's a lot of perceptions around what those generations are capable of and maybe even, what they're not. And when you focus kind of your tailored mentoring towards them, you adjust your way that you share your knowledge versus the way that you feel most comfortable, then you see better results in them. And it's a life lesson for me, both with managing people, but as we talk about mentoring people, is helpful because it actually gets them in the space that they're able to kind of acknowledge ways to move forward together for themselves, and you're able to help them do that. But there's so many stories where they don't even know some of the things, and a lot of us, we need feedback immediately, because things happen quick. So I usually try to practice that 24 hours to give them feedback on things, but then also, do it in a both professional manner, or sometimes I say, one of my common phrases, let me take the manager's hat off for a second and talk to you, right? As a friend, right? And so I think a lot of that has helped as well with mentoring.
Yeah. Do you remember some of your mentors that you have had along your career?
Of course, 3 specifically stand out, but yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. So, one was my first boss, and he still remains a close mentor to me, working for a wholesale distributor based in the United States. And, just a bit available to answer a quick question, a text, giving me books to read, like lessons and things like that, and also encouragement. And to the point where, my relationship with him sort of has come full circle, where I'm now mentoring him as he's moved on in a career change.
Wow.
And, because he had never switched jobs. And so I've been blessed to kind of move in different directions through my career. So he's asked me, what do you do as you prepare? That was such a strange, environment.
Yeah.
Right. I like I say, there's 3, but those are some of the lessons I've learned, but just great books, great, coaching and just attitude to the things that I need done. And mentors really, again, are there to help you to learn about yourself. I mean, they're not there to tell you necessarily what to do. They're there to kind of guide you. And once you kind of realize that, I think most people really latch on to mentorship.
I think that a great mentor is who learn you to ask yourself the better questions, right?
Yes, exactly. And then hold yourself to higher standards. I think the mentor, the things that they've never done for me has been my accountability officer. And not because, I don't think they were capable of, but because they kind of drove me to be that. Yeah. And to say, if you're going to commit to doing the things that you're wanting to do, be motivated. And if you lack motivation, seek me. But it starts with you. And what a lesson that was. You almost think it's their job sort of to tell you exactly what it is, but you have to carve your own path, your own niche, and kind of feel your way through that. And mentors that's not their job. Their job is to help guide you, like a Sherpa or a guru or a czar or something, right? Yeah.
Which skills do you think that have helped you along your career?
Soft skills. I think soft skills have been the number one area I've focused my career on. I think I've made a lot of improvement there. Still more to come, by the way. I think there's always improvement there. Emotional intelligence is probably another area, both a strength at times, but can absolutely be used better. But those 2 areas have really helped me to really observe, what I think I'm good at, and because they're not my strengths necessarily. I've had to grow there. My strengths were, organization. My strengths were drive. My, just accomplishment and focusing on trying to get things done. Which then in turn led to, well, wait, you're sort of steamrolling everybody. You're pushing everybody. It's your work, and nobody else's work is important. Which is when the soft skill mentoring started. It was like, well, how can you do what you need with kind of making it feel like they're part of the solution, then they're the problem for not helping you do it. And I'm still learning that lesson, to be honest. That's not fixed.
one never stop learning about it.
Exactly right, yeah. And I would say I'll give Watts a lot of plug here around their program, particularly that they offer, but for me, is they've offered the ability to kind of get feedback with a formal mentorship program. And, often one of the core things I bring up are still the things I mentioned, soft skills and emotional intelligence, right? And there's definitely a balancing act between when do you use those skills and how to not maybe overuse them. And, honey versus vinegar are some of the key analogies I've heard. For me is a little less vinegar, more honey. Okay, but sometimes you need a little vinegar. It's not one or the other. But one approach is not great. It depends on the person.
Tell us about your day-to-day job as a sales manager, as a leader for for many people in your company. How is your day-to-day work?
So Watts is a large company. I'll start there. So we're 4,500 employees, roughly a little over $2 billion in annual sales, and publicly traded. So Watts is a rather large organization. The team that I sit on is approximately 45 to 50 employees. So I'm part of our marketing team and very closely connected to our training team. So the function that I have the privilege to oversee is our sales enablement group. And so sales enablement is really this positioning between all of our sales team members, whether that be our manufacturer representatives in the US and Canada, to our BDMs, RSMs, which is business development managers and regional sales managers, to then directors of sales, and to sort of liaison between all three of them and work together to kind of speak both language, right? So what is the marketing team producing? What is the training team producing? Make that into a cohesive group of material and content and coaching, hopefully, to then move that to our sales teams. And then vice versa. The sales teams are out there saying, look, we're using these materials, we're using all this great made things, but we need to make some adjustments. So then sharing that intel and information back to our marketing teams and our training teams. So, but my role is a marketing leadership team member. I'm part of a group of 6 of us that manage teams within the framework based in the Americas, which is the Canada, US, and Latin America. So it's a rather broad team, but my team specifically, I have an employee that reports and works on Latin America marketing. That's why I'm here at this lovely event.
And physically, where is him or her?
Mexico City. We have a sales office based in Mexico City today with 5 countries that they work and receive orders into today.
Okay. I have seen that in many companies, the marketing team and the sales team, maybe they're confronted.
Yes.
How is in your company? How do you manage that sometimes difficult relationship?
We call that One Watts, and that's a Bob Pagano, our CEO, initiative. I say that's really been proliferated through a lot of our shareholder meetings and reports, and obviously our company culture. It's a hard discipline to practice, particularly when Watts acquires companies. And we've been sort of in acquisition mode the last 5 years pretty aggressively.
Very interesting.
So One Watts is becoming more challenging. But theoretically, the idea is that alignment is built inside the walls before we undertake initiatives. That is a lot of extra work. It's a lot of extra time, a lot of different competing motivations and interests. But when done well, things then actually accelerate. Where we don't do that alignment inside, I've found even in my job and certainly with my peers, the work gets stifled or it gets slowed down. And so because your Watts is so big and broad, it's not uncommon to bring in different business units to one meeting to discuss an issue and a vendor, a new program, and then to get their feedback and then try your best to sort of align and do that work based on that group feedback. But not saying it goes easy, and I'm not saying that we do it well. But when we do it well, it's incredibly great for the company, and helps a lot from an efficiency standpoint, but also for just getting better results.
Yeah. It's very interesting that kind of experience, buying companies and then adapt the philosophy of the new company
Yes.
with you. How do you identify? Because I think some people adapt and some people don't.
Yeah.
How do you identify that people that will not be longer on the company,
Yep.
and how do you identify some people that maybe need only some education or some mentoring to stay in the company?
Sure. I mean, I'm happy to comment generally on that. So, in a lot of the companies I've been with, including Watts, I think our industry has maybe unlike some other industries, we're very long wait to kind of find out, will people work in roles, right? Every company I've been with in the acquisitions, the common phrase I hear is, we're just going to leave it alone for a year, right? We're going to let it kind of run for a while, and then we'll reassess the people and processes and things like that. And then slowly over time, you start to integrate where maybe the lowest hanging fruit is in terms of process and people and work. That seems to be working pretty well for the industry, and certainly for Watts, what I've observed. Unlike maybe other companies and other groups that, in industries that, it's like, hey, we're going to lay off, 30% right away, things like that. I don't see that with anything we do. It's almost, we keep everybody and we kind of figure out where they fit and try to use them best that they can in at least 1 year, if not longer in some cases. So I think that's probably the best approach, and definitely we've gotten a lot of good results with that, I would say.
Great. Well, I want you to talk about what's water products and services.
Sure.
Our audience is not very used to talk about this kind of products and services, but
sure.
If you want, like a movie, if talk to me like I'm 10 years old.
Oh my gosh! And explain the HVAC and plumbing industry.
And explain
that's a great.
What do you do in your company? What your companies do for?
Wow, that takes me out of my elevator pitch and thinks differently, which is a great way to try to attack that problem. Look, I think for people that don't know what Watts Water does, probably the easiest segue into it is anything that deals with water management or control of it. That's what this company produces, and definitely is where we've invested. So, and that means things like plumbing flow and control, to water quality, to water heating,
maintenance of the machines for the water supply. Also,
so we're definitely in the manufacturing business. Okay. We do offer services, but mostly around smart and connected services, subscription type services, which we'll definitely want to talk about. But from a product category standpoint, which is, I think, roughly, best estimates are over 90%, 95% of products sold, in terms of our revenue is attributed to an actual physical product of some kind of Watts makes. So, but yeah, we're really in that business of water management, essentially. And so a lot of our taglines, a lot of what we do is around water being a core component to what we do. So if you think water, Watts probably has some product that helps that process. Again, whether it be flow management to quality, et cetera. For a lot of folks maybe at AHR that are watching, things on the HVAC side or air conditioning side, if you're familiar with water heating, we have an entire business unit that makes water heating products, water heaters, boilers, large appliances like that, commercial and up. And then from there is when you kind of get into the bread and butter things that Watts, offers, whether that be backflow preventers, pressure reducing valves, any of our different water quality systems between reverse osmosis, things like that, and then also drainage solutions. So we've built a nice business around different types of material that helps with maintaining the control of water in areas. So with drainage products, which you would never think is such a sexy thing, but it can be, based on what the application is, whether that's in a food and beverage facility, up to different hospitality, et cetera. We're also in the business of mixing valves, which is a big safety and energy efficiency issue.
Okay.
So mixing valves being, the tempering of water between cold and hot, making sure that people aren't scalding, but also that water temperature is a good temperature that will keep you safe. So again, all those products are things that we offer. And then I'll touch briefly on the software side. So Watts, within the last 3 years, has bolted on to our standard product suite a smart and connected strategy. So the idea being, how do you inject sensors and technology to help monitor and also control some of these products as well? And so we've done that now through a new piece of software called Nexa. So Nexa is a platform program that we sell that helps with BMS applications and Modbus applications. And again, mostly it's in all kinds of different product categories for Watts now. That could be, between our backflow preventer product up to our controls. We have a whole controls division that helps set temperature, things like that, our mixing valve technology. So smart and connected is a goal and very core to what we want to be. So I don't know if I answered your question about being a 10-year-old version. It's very like, whoa.
Maybe 12.
Maybe 12 to 18. But, again, for children, it's really, and 10-year-olds, it's really about water management, water control. That's what we do every day. I'd be shocked if a child or any of us go into a behind-the-wall plumbing application and not see a Watts product somewhere on that system.
Yeah, okay.
Or even now as we become to the front of the wall, where we have faucets and there's commercial grade, very architecturally designed things like bathroom partitions through our Bradley line. So you probably have seen a Watts brand somewhere because of just the breadth of what and who we own.
Do you remember some projects that you have done or projects that you were involved in that were particularly difficult?
So we have a whole list of case studies on our website. A lot of them, usually what we've noticed with them is that it's written in a way that's a problem and then solution and results. So there's always a problem that a product solves, right, in our case. So when you think about the ways that some of these issues come up, one of the technologies we have now is leak detection, right? So water leak detections. And so this is a product category that really helps, again, a building owner or an apartment owner, if they have a leak in a building, to be able to both be notified quickly through an app or an actual alarm, but also being able to shut down that valve. And so a lot of the issues that we see from a problem standpoint is there's already been a problem. So the product is helping solve that coming in later. And so just particularly from that is usually just that ability to help, make sure that things work inside the building and homes that we're able to resolve for.
Okay. Do you remember another success story that you can share us?
As far as an install goes or a product?
About services or a product?
Sure. I mean, so here in the Latin America market, there was a resort based in the islands in the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
And one of their products and problems was that their outside backflow preventer, which is a cross-connection device that makes sure that nothing bad comes into the domestic water supply.
Right.
It's an extremely important product, no matter where you're at in the world, to be honest, because we don't want chemicals and other things coming in the event of back siphonage. Yeah. But either way, so that product and that issue on this particular resort was that because of the salt water that was coming in, it was actually corroding the valve very quickly. So we were able to install a new backflow preventer into that application, allowing for being coated with a proprietary blend of epoxy called ArmorTech. And so that now allows for the piece, that backflow preventer that's exposed to salt water all the time, to actually last longer in that environment, which is exactly what it was designed, to do. Whereas the competition doesn't have such an epoxy on that product yet because it's hard to emulate at the moment.
Yeah. We were talking some minutes ago before the recording of the podcast that you at the Watts Water have a great training and education program.
Yes.
I want to talk about that. Please tell us how is it great? What do you have that maybe in other companies doesn't have?
Our training program, we sort of self-tout this, but I do believe it, which is we're best in class. And we're best in class because we have a 4-pillar strategy. One of which is probably our most commonly used but also most accessible, which is our e-modules program through our WattsWorks online portal. And so there's thousands of courses between English and Spanish now, French, the whole world, right? We have different languages for that.
Yeah.
But the idea is that we'll train you on products, we'll train you about installation, we'll train you on even some basic industry things, and then reward you for doing so. So you're going to earn tokens, which in turn is then used for swag, all kinds of cool things that you can pick up, which we're very proud of. We've had such success with this program. We continue to invest in it with our training department. Another area that we have is our learning centers. So we have one site in the Americas. I think it's 7, maybe 5. I got to double check.
Okay.
It's somewhere between 5 and 7 learning centers that are accessible for customers to come and visit us and to see both our factories, but also see things like a wet lab of some
All
products.
of them are at Mexico City, or?
So we have the closest one to LATAM or Latin America is in our Fort Worth, Texas facility.
Okay.
Maybe someday we'll have the Mexico City one. But we definitely invest there around our factories, particularly if you're comfortable with a certain product line that we have. We'd love to bring you in and show it. And I can promise you there's an experiential event that comes with that, as well as going to the factory and learning in a classroom style setting for a couple days. But we have a really big investment there, as well. We also do what's called continuing education programs.
Okay.
So a lot of that, both in the United States and Canada. I'm not as familiar on Latin America requirements offhand, but we have programs that give credits for continuing education. So they're very lengthy courses that one can take to earn them additional credits towards maintaining their credentials. So those are things like in the United States, we have it's a CEU program, Certified Education Unit of 0.1. So if they create and go through that class and take the quiz and pass it, they're going to earn towards their sustaining their certification. Great to be used all over the place. Even if you don't, earn the educational certification, you can definitely take those courses to learn very generic things about water management, all kinds of topics we teach on, which is fabulous.
Great. Yeah.
And last but not least, we're starting to launch things like our virtual instructor-led training.
Okay.
So these are things that are, so if you can't come to a learning center, if you can't, maybe do e-modules, or maybe you want, in addition to those things, these courseworks, virtual instructor-led training is something that we're setting up, inside of our facilities, our wet labs at the learning center, but doing a two-way, almost think like a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, where we can actually train you remotely, and then you can ask questions in classrooms and things like that. So we're starting to move forward towards a process and model with that in mind. And look, the future is so bright on our training education, to be honest. Our team is doing some really neat things, as next evolution, some of which I can't talk about quite yet, but just things, moving past product training in addition to that, I would say, that are with the customer, the installer, the specifying engineer, the wholesale distributor or importer in mind, and maybe even growing their professional development, growing other areas as well that we're looking to bolt on. So we want you to come into the program to be taught and learn things, and then hopefully you take advantage of these other offers that we'll have in the future.
Perfect. Ryan, please tell us about your events strategy.
Sure.
In which events have you been? AHR is one of them.
Sure.
But how is your strategy about participation in events? Why do you participate? What are the results that you expect after every exhibition?
Yeah, so one of the good things about Watts is we definitely have invested in a better process around trade show and event management, both the selection of those trade shows and events, but also the day of management, and then we call it post-mortem, which is a little grim term. We should say, post-event.
It's better.
Right? Not the death of the meeting or the trade show, but post-mortem. But the idea is that we take a holistic view at all of those things. I mean, Watts in the Americas, we're in well over 50 trade shows a year. And it's because of how many different brands we have and things that we focus on. But, really right up front, we're going to identify what's our cost per lead, what's the investment amount, what's the amount of social media impressions we can get, what's the amount of marketing traction we can get, and then trying to tack that onto what kind of qualified sales lead did this become, and what actually did that become to a sales order. Now, I'm not saying any of all that is all well evolved, but I think aspirationally we're trying to get to those kind of metrics. But as we go to prepare for an event like this, it's where we start early. We're at 6 months planning, so we've agreed to come to an event We do a kickoff call. Once we do the kickoff call, we line up on all the details. Okay, what are we showing in the booth? What's the overall messaging? What's the marketing and promotion strategy going to be? Is there a giveaway, right? How much literature do we need? All those pieces kind of go into this process, and you manage that until the day of the event. And then once the event comes, it's go time, right? Well, let's work the room, right? Use the lead scanners, make sure that we're grabbing all that information, participating, and getting as much extra value as we can for events, which is a good side note. I wanted to mention this for your listeners, is the HR Expo for Mexico. One of the things that makes this show unique is the partner program, the promotional partner program.
Okay.
So Watts, we made a bigger investment this year, I would say, of focusing on those details, whether it be doing more social media posts, using the VIP link, taking care of those other areas. And so because of that, it opened up additional benefits, right, that we got to use, whether it be the beer garden that's here. To like, I'm hoping the mariachi band comes by my booth, okay?
It will come, I'm sure.
That's my hope, is that we get some photos and videos with the mariachi band, But like, again, I would say that level of prep and that level of effort is what it takes to really make a show successful and unique, right? Yeah. But in either case, but as far as our process goes, I would just say after you do all those things, you take advantage of what's at the show, you do the podcasts, you do the speaking slots and everything, then you sit down with the whole team and we ask, very tough questions, okay? Like, okay, what competitors were there? What were our actual results? Yeah. Do we think this is going to get a sales lead? Which then leads to that big conversation of, do we sign up again?
Yeah,
that's the question.
That's the question.
You do that every year, every show, and the discipline to do that with Watts, we've definitely grown over the last few years. And again, there's a reason we're in 50, is because we believe that there's value in those 50 shows for different reasons within the businesses we run.
And it's great that you have a balance between the measurements that you made, all the indicators that you have mentioned, and the other side, the mariachi effect, the podcast effect, the subjective things that you see at the show. So it's great that you have hard information to evaluate, but I'm sure that the other thing that also is heavy sometimes, right?
Well, I would say to you that if the sales teams, and we love the sales team, okay? So you've seen the video. If we love our sales teams. Again, I'm a sales enablement person. But if you left it up to the sales team members, they would sign up for every show, right?
Because there are opportunities for them,
Right, but I think anecdotally, that information is important. That's the soft data. And then we have to, observe and look at what I call hard data, right?
Yeah.
Like, so both have to live together to make that full decision around, do we actually invest in an event like this again in the future? And again, listen, we do it, and we do it every year, and some years are better than others in terms of the assessment, but and we do adjust. I mean, that's another thing. We don't just say, yes, we'll do, a show at the same level again. We really assess that. Do we change our level of investment, booth size? Do we scale up? Do we scale down? Do we, we really give a hard look at that. And to be clear, like, the team that does that at Watts, it's such a discipline. In fact, the person that's leading a lot of our experiential marketing right now, I think, has a degree in this, event management. Wow. So, like, that's where we kind of learned all these things. Never mind all the 50 shows you manage. You kind of get good at after a while. But I think that really has helped us make those decisions.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you don't want to make a course about the experience that an exhibitor should have, because you mentioned a lot of indicators.
Sure.
I think that every company that participates in an event like this must have those indicators, because it happened many times, and I'm sad when I see that you see in some of the booths people looking at their cell phone, not making a connection with the people that is coming around, doesn't take notes. You have seen that. So
of course.
It's money expended with not use. So it's great that a company like you, in fact, make this kind of measurements, and congratulations.
I want to connect back to the very beginning of something that we talked about, which was the mentor question, right?
Yeah.
And I got to say, one of the things in my career that's really helped me was every opportunity that I went to, whether it be a trade show, et cetera, I've always tried to say, what else can I do at it? What else can I work on? So typically it's not uncommon for me to walk the room and introduce myself. So like I'll give a card, I'll give, even if it's a second to talk about, the things that we do at Watts, but also I'm very curious. I just want to know like, okay, what's the new product you've launched? What's the new thing that you do? And also try to stir up relationships, whether that be through trade associations, software programs now, additional. So like it's not do you just look at, okay, what competition is here, it's what other partnerships are here that I can maybe do while I'm there at the same time. That has helped me immensely. There's so many people I've met at events like this because there's tens of thousands of people at a show like this size. To actually work the room a little bit instead of just being. Luckily, in the role that I'm in now, I don't have to work in the booth, right? I can work around the booth.
Yeah.
But like, that's the kind of things that kind of pay you dividend. It makes it worth not just for you and your career and from your professional development, but also helps the company. And then you can bring those things back to the post review and back to what other things you can work on in the future together.
Yeah. Some months ago, I interviewed a person named Ivan Meisner. He's a founder of a network organization named BNI at the USA, and he told me one phrase that is very good. He said, if excellence is a choice, what do you take mediocrity? And I see that you and your company took excellence as your choice, and it's great to see exhibitors like you.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you before we end the podcast, if you want to say the audience how can they contact you and contact Watts Water.
Absolutely.
What are your contact information?
Happy to do that. So Watts is online. So we have watts.com/LATAM. So for the LATAM region, we have an entire page dedicated to our region here with all the products we sell and additional information in Spanish. I'm always available for you on LinkedIn, so please find me there. I'm happy to connect, happy to talk. And part of the benefit of being at a company this size is that if I don't know who it is or where it goes, I can try and I'll find somebody for you.
Yeah.
But definitely for your audience, I'm very connected to our LATAM region, whether that be our sales directors, our marketing manager here in the country as well. So I'd be so humbled if anyone reached out and said, I'd like to ask you a question or need something, and I promise if I can't answer it, I'll get it to the right place.
Yeah. And you also are very active in social media, right? I saw your Instagram account and at Watts Water.
Yes, that's actually something I didn't mention. So Watts Water has all the typical social media channels. So we're in Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and some other ones a very smaller amount. Those are the four key ones that we're in. In fact, we just are about to eclipse 100,000 connections on LinkedIn. We're really proud of that. It's probably our core social media channel, but also the person that manages our social media presence reports to me. So if you message her and think you're talking to someone generic at Watts, please know it's a person, and I know exactly who it is.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ryan, for being here. Gracias, Gabriela, for making the connection with us. And I also tell you, recuerden, por favor, seguirnos en Instagram, en Facebook como @SomosMundoExpo. También síganos en YouTube. Si no le has dado suscribir al canal, suscríbete, pícale a la campanita y nos escuchamos en el siguiente episodio. Hasta la próxima. Thank you very much, Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.